I am going to record and get us started here. Where is my, okay, here's my presentation. There we go. Here we go, guys. So welcome to Food as Medicine. My name is Samantha Rollinson. I'm a registered nurse and a health and wellness coach, and welcome to the webinar Food as Medicine. Our food should be our medicine and our medicine should be our food. That is a quote from Hippocrates. And it's amazing how something from before Christ still applies today, and how amazingly smart he was, because I literally have put into a folder all of his sayings, which is really cool. So as you know, we had to postpone this night, and I'm so sorry for that. So for those of you who are getting this as a replay, thank you for your patience. I am so sorry. I was stranded last night and had no way of doing this because I didn't even have a car. I had no Wi-Fi. So that being said, let's get started. Who am I? I have been I have been a registered nurse for 31 years, going on 32 this December. Right out of nursing school, I joined the Navy and met my husband of 28 years. And we have two beautiful children, Madison, who is 26, and Morgan, who will be 21 next month. I love to read, and Morgan and I have that passion. And I love to do arts and crafts, and as does the whole family. So that's what I do in my spare time outside of working. And then we like to travel, and my husband was a travel nurse, and my sister Andrea she still comes to all the places that we go, and we just moved to Austin, and I'm sure she will be visiting us real soon here. And my story starts with being a nurse. I had a back injury when 20 years ago at least. And it has progressively gotten worse as the years have gone on. And I've tried everything from Western medicine to Eastern medicine. And then right before 2020, I started having this shift. And then I watched this movie called The Game Changer on Netflix on January 2nd of 2020. And my whole life changed at that point. I stopped eating meat the next day. I have not touched meat since. And we're going on 2024 here. And as I did that, I did more research and I did more changes. I changed my mindset. I started doing EFT tapping. I changed my diet. I lost 14 pounds without trying, just by eating healthier. And I incorporated all of this into my lifestyle, as you can imagine. And so that's part of what this webinar is about tonight, is a piece of what I did, and a piece of my program is the food as medicine, because I really truly believe that food can heal you. And so before we go any further, does anybody have any questions? And you can unmute yourself if you do. Okay, so the power of nutrition. There is a mind-body connection when it comes to how we eat and why we eat. And I'm going to put this almost in a story form for you. So imagine your mind and body as the ultimate dynamic duo, like Batman and Robin. but without the caves. They're in constant cahoots, working together to keep you healthy and balanced. So here's the deal. Your mind, with all its thoughts, feelings, emotion, has a direct hotline to your body. You could say that's, and can say that controls your whole body. It's like a two-way street where the messages zip back and forth. So when you're stressed and anxious, your body picks up the phone and goes. And your body says, hey, we need to release some stress hormones. This can make your heart race, your muscles tense up, and now we're into the fight and flight mode. But it's not always bad news. The mind-body connection can also work in your favor and can be a beautiful thing. When you think positively and practice self-care, your body gets the memo and responds in kind with the feel-good emotions and the chemicals and endorphins that your body releases. That's why a good laugh or a heartfelt hug can always make you feel better, or most of the time. And here is where it gets much cooler. Research shows your thoughts and emotions can influence your physical health. Chronic stress, for example, can mess with your immune system and lead to health issues. On the flip side, a positive mindset and relaxation techniques can boost your immune system and keep you from getting sick, and it can heal your body. So our bodies are really amazing things because they can heal themselves, especially when we are taking care of them and we're eating the right things. So think of your body, mind body, as best buds. They're best friends who always have each other's back because our mind and our body are constantly working together. When you nurture your mental well-being, you're also giving your body a big hug of support. It's all about finding the balance. And sometimes that can be tricky, and sometimes we need help. So even though you have that balance can get off kilter, we can always fix it. And so you can thrive. So how does nutrition impact chronic pain? Well, and we talk about this a lot because my big thing is chronic pain. So I that's what I help women with. And so we all have had pain at some point in our life, whether it's from an injury or surgery or whatever it might be. And sometimes we have acute pain, but some of us have chronic pain. And this helps no matter what kind of pain you've had and wherever you might have pain in your life. So imagine your body as a well-oiled machine. To keep it running smoothly, we need to fuel it with the right foods and the right things. So when it comes to chronic pain, nutrition is like a secret ingredient that can either soothe or exacerbate the pain. And so we really need to be careful what we really eat and don't eat. And that's really hard when we don't feel good. But we'll go into that in a little bit. So chronic pain typically has, and I'm not saying everybody, but most people have inflammation, and that's what's causing the chronic pain. And there are cases where that's not the case, but most of the time it is. So think of inflammation like little fires in your body. And sometimes that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like fire. So certain foods like sugary treats, processed food, sugary drinks, they fuel the fire and make pain worse. But we have things called superhero foods or anti-inflammatory foods, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. So it's a balancing act. So we need to find the right balance of right foods that keeps us in that steady mode. And that can be really difficult. We need to really, if we can, stop eating sugar because that's a huge, huge trigger for those who have chronic pain. And it's not great for most people. And eating the sugar is like a roller coaster. You have that high and then you drop down. So it's one of those things we really need to avoid. And then we need to find our nutrient powerhouses like omega-3 fatty acids are really important things. They curb inflammation. And we're going to talk about this stuff in a little bit. And then we need to take care of our gut and take care of our gut health. If you know you have stomach problems, you need to find what foods are aggravating your stomach, and you need to stop eating those, because all that's going to do is cause more inflammation and more pain. And so, yeah, they may taste good at the time, but if they're causing you trouble, why are we continuing to eat them? And we all do it. And then one of the things that I like to really tell people is, because I know for a fact my mother-in-law does not drink any water. Water is so important. It helps with so many things. It lubricates your joints. It helps you digest your food. Everything I just talked about, it puts it into balance. So you want to make sure you're hydrating and you're drinking enough water, and it's important you drink water. So like I told you at the beginning of my story, diet made a huge difference for me. And I know when I eat certain things, it increases my pain. And what works for me may not work for you, but that's where I come in, is I help you and I help you figure out, hey, maybe we should try this instead of this because it doesn't work for everybody. And I have found my things, and I do occasionally indulge in cheese, but then it's very rare because I know how bad it makes me feel. So on to building your healthy plate. So it's important we build our plate from the beginning. Whole foods are your friends. We really want to, they're like the VIPs of the nutrition world. So everybody likes being a VIP. So it's really important to maybe incorporate more of those VIP foods into our diet so we can feel like a VIP. So they're just, and they're unprocessed gems. They're amazing for your body. What are whole foods? Whole foods are foods that are close to their natural state. So they're not processed. Think of things like an apple or broccoli, a sweet potato. There's no labels, they're just in their natural state. So that's what I mean by whole foods. And it's funny how when you get away from the processed foods, how you actually crave the good foods. And that's happened to me a couple times. That we were moving back in the spring, and I told my daughter, I said, I need some vegetables. And let me tell you, if you talk to my mom and dad, I was the kid who did not eat vegetables. I hated them. And now I'm like, oh, I need some vegetables. And I can tell when my body hasn't had enough because I actually crave them. So whole foods are like tiny nutrient factors. They're loaded with vitamins and minerals, fiber, and antioxidants, and all that stuff decreases your inflammation and your pain. And it helps with your gut health. It helps with decreasing certain diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, people who are diabetics. If you can go on a whole food plant-based diet, it's amazing what it can do for your body. And I know it's very difficult to do that diet. So even if you can add more whole foods, so less processed junk. Fiber is very important, and we don't always get enough fiber. So when you're eating all your vegetables and fruit, whole beans, beans are your friend. And that's something I have a hard time with because I don't like the texture. I have texture issues. So I'll grind them up and put them in things so I can incorporate them into my food. I'm like a kid. I have to find ways of getting it in because like I said, I have texture issues with food. So I had to find ways of getting things in there. And casseroles are something that I sometimes like because of that. And then just, having a balanced plate is just so important. Make sure you have your enough proteins. And I personally don't eat meat, but you might be somebody who tolerates meat. Okay. And just make sure you have the right mix of protein though. So, and the right protein. We don't want high fats. We don't, we want healthy fats and healthy carbs when we do our balanced plate. We don't want to eat those refined sugars and carbs and all of that stuff. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So when we have balanced meals, it stabilizes our energy, and it stabilizes our energy throughout the day. So we don't have that high and that low, and we don't have that dip in the afternoon. A lot of us just take that all the way down, and around 2-3 o'clock, we take that dip and we need to do something. And I have found that I don't do that anymore, because I really have learned to take a lot of the junk food out of my diet. And trust me, I was the biggest junk food junkie there was. So let's go on, because we were talking about the foods. Let's go on and talk about the superfoods and the foods that decrease your inflammation. But first, just as food causes chronic disease, it can be the most powerful cure. So that's another Hippocrates quote. And again, amazing, thousands and thousands of years ago. And he knew that food was so important, and it was better than the medicines that we take. And there's quotes on that too, but we're not going to get deep into that. So anyways, sorry for the tangent, guys. Anyways, what is a superfood? Superfoods are, like I said, the VIP foods. They're the super healthy foods. They are foods that offer exceptional benefits beyond their nutritional profile. And superfoods are rich in antioxidants, which they're natural compounds that protect your cells from damage. They lower risk of heart disease, cancer, and other diseases. Minerals, these essential nutrients such as calcium, potassium, and iron help your body perform at the highest levels. So even if you're not an athlete, you want your body to perform all day long so you can get through the day. So they have vitamins. You can get all your vitamins in what you eat, and it's better than supplements. Superfoods also may be high in fiber, depending on the food, and it can help decrease your cholesterol and prevent heart disease and type 2 diabetes. They have flavonoids found in plants, and have anti-inflammatory and anti-carcinogenic properties. And with how many cancers out nowadays, why not try eating more vegetables? And then there's the healthy fats, which can be found in plants. So they have anti-inflammatory and anti-carcinogenic properties also. And they also, so the healthy fats, monosaturated and polysaturated fats, are good fats. So they help lower the cholesterol and prevent heart disease and stroke. So now that we know what a superfood is, can anybody name me some superfoods? You can go ahead and take yourself off mute if you want to. So some of the superfoods are avocados, berries, beets, chia seeds, cinnamon, dark leafy vegetables such as kale, spinach, collard greens, garlic. You can ask my husband, I cook everything in garlic, I think. Well, I don't cook breakfast foods in garlic unless they're potatoes. But yes, I use a lot of garlic. Ginger. Green tea is actually very good for you. So if you want to drink a tea, go for a green tea. Lentils, pumpkins, salmon, yogurt, and kefir, and cruciferous vegetables, which I can never say that word, but it's things like broccoli and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those type of things. And it's funny because I'm a picky eater, but I like weird stuff like cabbage and Brussels sprouts, and yeah. Anyways, So foods with anti-inflammatory properties, beans. And then, beans are a great protein also. They're fiber rich. And when you mix them with like rice, that's a whole complete, what's the word I'm looking for? A complete protein. So a lot of the same things that we talked about with superfoods are also your anti-inflammatory foods. So I'll just go through the list here. Avocados, like I said, beans are avocados. Avocados are high in vitamins A and E, and they have soluble fiber that lowers heart disease, but we don't want to be eating too much of avocados because the monounsaturated fats can actually go the opposite way on you too. So you need a fine balance there. Sweet potatoes are actually, swap those with white potatoes because they can reverse the inflammatory damage caused by free radicals. And there's so many cool things you can do with sweet potatoes. Citrus fruit. Put some in your water. If you're one of those people who have a hard time drinking water, put some citrus fruit in your water. You can do so much with fruit. Leafy greens, we already talked about that, but just so you know, they're high in vitamins A, C, E, and K. So actually leafy greens have more vitamin C than oranges. So just a quick tip there. Incorporate nuts. You can use them as a snack. You can use them in your foods. I put them in, sometimes in stir fries. I put them in my salads. So you can do all kinds of neat things with nuts. And then there's also nut butter, which if you're having inflammation, I recommend not eating so much peanut butter and doing like an almond butter or I think there's a cashew butter too. Fatty fish, salmon, tuna, those things are very good for inflammation. And we mentioned before, superfood, berries. Berries are amazing. They are your best friend. Blueberries have a ton of antioxidants, and raspberries actually have a ton of fiber. So try incorporating those in. Tomatoes have anti-inflammatory response. Coffee and tea, again, let's drink that green tea. Apples is like my favorite food, besides blueberries. I love apples, and you can mix them with so many things. Whole grains, we don't want the refined carbohydrates. We want the whole grains. So if you're going to do bread, whole wheat bread, I actually learned from my naturopath that sourdough bread is actually really good for you, and it can decrease your inflammation too. And it also helps with things like your adrenals. Dark chocolate. If you're going to go for a chocolate, go for something that's 70% cacao or more, and that can actually benefit you. And then fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, those type of things are very good for decreasing our inflammation. The worst thing for inflammation, and you guys know this, so I'm going to repeat it anyways, refined carbohydrates, processed foods, baked goods, high sugar drinks, or high sugar anything, trans fat, omega-6 fatty acids such as peanut, sunflower, corn, or safflower oil. Use those sparingly. If we use too much omega-6 and we have more omega-6 than omega-3, our body has a hard time processing and it throws it off balance. So really be careful with those. And then I'm just going to throw out here that if you need help with some of these, I actually have a anti-inflammatory, I don't know if you guys can see, I'm going to show you in a minute after the presentation. I have an anti-inflammatory food list, and I can get that to you if that's something you would like. So we will go to the next presentation, and we're just going to touch on this briefly because this can be its own presentation in itself, because mindful eating is really important when you're trying to use food as medicine, because you need to pay attention to how you're eating and what you're eating and why you're eating. Mindful eating is paying attention to what we eat on purpose, moment by moment, without judgment. That's the definition. So that being said, when you eat, you want to savor every bite you take. You want to pay attention to what you are eating. Those of us who have chronic illness or chronic disease, chronic pain, I'm sorry, we tend to, or you have anxiety or depression even, you tend to go to the fridge and go eat because you're hurting or you're in pain or you're sad or you're anxious. But it's important to stop in that moment and think, okay, why am I eating right now? Am I eating because of my emotion? And this is kind of emotional eating also, but it's also so mindful. Are you eating because of your emotions, or are you eating because you're hungry? And if you're eating because you're hungry, really think about what type of food you're going to put into your body, because when we're hurting or we're sad, we're going to go for the worst thing. We're going to go for the ice cream and the sugars and try not to even have those in your house if possible. But if you do and you have kids, think about that. Have the healthy foods there that you can go and grab instead of grabbing those non-healthy foods. So 4 simple steps to mindful eating: sit down, not in front of a TV, and be mindful of what is going into your mouth and savor it. Feel what it feels like, smell the food, and practice. I mean, it's something that takes time, and then just planning and preparing rather than the spur of the moment. But if you have the spur of the moment, that's okay. Just sit down and be mindful of what you're eating and think about it, and let your mind think about what you're eating and why you're eating it. Okay. Lastly, lifestyle integrations. So incorporating all of this into your lifestyle. We need to prepare. We need to think ahead. So I like to, on the weekend typically, but sometimes I do it on Monday if I'm not working on Monday. When I go to the grocery store, I always have a list. And if you put what veggies you're buying that week, what fruit you're buying that week, what healthy foods are you buying that week, that way when you go to the store, you can get those and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to have. So in other words, plan your weekly menu. Let's start with that. Plan your weekly menu, and then make a list. And then when you get home from the grocery store, prep. So say you have like, I'm trying to think of some veggies so zucchini or squash or cucumbers or carrots. When you get home, give yourself like 30 minutes after you get home and be like, okay, I'm going to cut this stuff up and put it in my little containers, and I have it for the week. And even like garlic, sometimes when I do I'll just do the whole thing and put it in a little container, and that way I have my fresh garlic that I can just go and grab. So that's really important. So meal prep, that's part of the meal prep, pre-cutting everything, meal prepping, knowing what you're doing ahead of time, and then just giving yourself, when you go to sit down, give yourself the proper portions. And if you still feel like you're hungry, go get some more veggies. If you're not cooking your veggies and a lot of crap, you should be able to just go eat some more of those and fill yourself. When you have snacks during the day, try something with protein, because protein will have protein and good fat. Because if you have some fat in there, it's going to keep you full longer. People always think, oh, I remember, I don't even remember. It was that in the 90s that we were like, don't eat fat because it's bad. We do need fat. Our bodies need fat. We need the right amount of fat. And then try to sneak in more vegetables. Like I said, I snuck the beans into my diet. You can do the same thing with veggies. It's amazing how you can sneak veggies into certain things. You can blend them up and put them into different things, and a lot of times you don't even taste them. Okay, this is our time period for questions. Okay, are there any questions? Let me check the Facebook and see if there's any questions here. Okay, I don't see any. Okay, so we don't have any questions. So I am going to really quick, let me pull this back up. And I want to make it big so you guys can see it. This, if you guys need any help with anything or have any questions or just want to chat with me, this is my calendar link here. This is my QR code, and it takes you straight to my Calendly link, and you can schedule an appointment with me. I don't remember if I put 20 or 30 minutes just to see how I can help. And then you can also reach me at my email here, Samantha@SamanthaRollinson.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me there, or I'm on Facebook. And I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. So I think that is it for tonight. And those of you that I said that I will send the recording, I will send the recording to you as soon as it uploads. And I hope you have a good evening, and look just to, as a, hey, I'm doing another webinar in 2 weeks, and that one is going to be more on lifestyle hacks, things like exercise, sleep. There's something else. I can't think of it right now. It's been a long week for me. So, but look for that in a couple weeks, and I look forward to talking to you guys and seeing you, and have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.